Hey, good evening and welcome to tonight's Facebook Live on being tragedy masters and how it's an opportunity for us to look at how we can take back self-control and wave goodbye to self-doubt. And so what I want to do in this very short live tonight is just share with you a few tips and techniques that you can try. And I guess the first thing I want to say is that we can spend a lot of time suffering in our own imagination because we allow our thoughts to take over and we become so consumed in what we think is happening that we actually don't notice what's in reality. And so I encourage you to have a think about perhaps a situation that's happened to you recently where you have felt the self-doubt creep in, or you have felt your imagination take over. And when you look at that back now, what were the actual facts of the situation? So the first thing I want to share with you tonight is that thoughts aren't facts. And it's very easy for us to call upon previous experiences. And so when we get ourselves into certain situations, we automatically jump back to what happened when we experienced that before. And this is where our fears can be brought back to life. This is where we can make them bigger than perhaps they were before, because we keep going back to that same experience rather than actually think about the real experience that we're in right now. So have a think about, what do you remember? Are there certain parts of your childhood or early adult life where you have become fearful of something, or you've experienced something that now, if you have that same experience again now, it terrifies you, or you completely freak out and overreact? And if you think about that situation, what is real about it? What's the truth of that situation? It may be perhaps there's something that you need to do quite soon, but again, you're holding back from actually taking action and doing the activity you need to do for fear of what might happen. And again, this is how we become masters of our own tragedy. We could take amateur dramatics onto the stage, because rather than actually taking action and going to what we need to do, we spend more time festering over what might happen versus, again, the reality. So again, that could be something for you to think about, is where are you holding back? Where are you stopping yourself from perhaps achieving a lifetime goal, picking up that phone to someone, or even just doing something that you know would really mean so much to you, but you're too fearful to go ahead for fear of what might happen? Oh, hi Yaga, how are you? Thanks so much for joining me. And so that's what I want us to think about tonight. And yes, there is science behind this. So our brains are designed so we are 5 times more likely to think of something negative than we are positive. So again, if we're going into situations when we're quite nervous of it, we're not sure how it's going to be, we automatically think the worst. We automatically go to that tragedy master status and think much bigger about what could go wrong versus what might go right. And that's where we need to intercept that. And that's where we need to say, oh, hang on a minute. But what could it be like? What could I achieve if I did X, Y, or Z? And so what we need to learn to do is we need to learn to live our life in the present moment, because we are very good about recalling the past and we are very good about predicting the future, but we're not so good about being in the present moment. Certainly there's lots of stuff on social media these days, all in the news, TV, absolutely everything, talking us through being in the present moment. And so you need to have a think about how that works for you. We don't need to necessarily sit on a yoga mat with 100 candles around us in a particular lotus state for 10 minutes every day to become present to the moment. All of you now watching this live or watching the playback are in the present moment. You're sitting here, you're listening to me now. And if you are, please do interact. Please throw me some thumbs up and make comments so I know you're there. It's always lovely to know you're speaking to someone. But it's about being in that present moment. So have a think. Have you had dinner tonight? Could you actually taste the food? Were you in the present moment when you were eating? Could you taste it? Could you notice the colours of it? What about perhaps your journey home from work? What did you really notice? Were you really listening to the songs that were perhaps playing in the car, or engaging in a conversation with someone? Think back to earlier during the day. Did you actually say hello to someone as they walked past you? Did you actually engage in a conversation, or perhaps just the normal hi, how are you? Yes, I'm fine, thanks. How are you? Yes, I'm fine, and walked on. Every day is a new opportunity for us to grasp the present moment, to make the most of the opportunities that we see. And sometimes though we filter all of that out because we're so busy worrying about what might happen or the negativity of what we think it's going to be like, that we actually miss the positive things in our life. So 2 great questions that you can ask yourself if you're in a situation where you can feel yourself getting out of control and the self-doubt creeping in is, what's the story I'm telling myself? What's really going on right here now? So where am I starting to let my mind overrule what's really going on? What am I cooking up in my brain that may really not be going on in reality? And Aggie, you make a good point as you comment there. It's so difficult to stop rushing when we're so busy and thinking about the next thing. But actually coming back to the thing that you are doing and concentrating on the present actually helps you build resilience. It actually helps you slow down, slow your breathing down, slow your blood pressure down, reduce your stress levels, which ultimately supports your mental and your physical well-being. So even if you just stopped for 2 minutes every day and just took a few breaths, it would give you the opportunity longer term to build up resilience. That sounds like a pretty cool thing to me. So what's the story I'm telling myself is a really great question to ask. And the other thing is this my story to own? So again, am I getting involved in something that I don't need to? Or am I taking on the fear or the doubts of others? Am I taking on somebody else's emotions and beliefs when actually I need to take a step back? And again, this is another thing that we can very easily slide into, and we start getting involved in other people's lives and other people's stories, and then suddenly we get consumed thinking it's our own. So that's my second question to you is, whose story is this to own? So what I want to share with you now is some tips for self-belief. And the first thing really is, what is the belief, or what are the beliefs that are really going on for you, and how could you take charge of those? What would it be like to let it go? And yes, I know every time I say that as a coach, I hear the Frozen song in my head. But what would it be like to let go and take charge and actually do the thing you've been dreading doing, pick up the phone, walk out that front door, write that letter you need to do, and actually just see what happens? Because then today, what's the worst that can happen? Would it be worse that you don't know whatever really happens because you never tried? Or perhaps you could give it a go and something positive might come out of it. The other thing is, if you think about the self-doubt or the worry that you have, are you in charge of the worry, or is the worry in charge of you? So again, thinking about how much time and energy you're focusing on this particular worry, is it actually worth it? Because if you can do something about it, then take action and move on. And if you can't do anything about it, then why are you still spending your energy worrying about it? Because you can't change anything. So this is what I mean by take charge. It's making that decision as to whether or not you stay standing still or you take a step forward. And that means taking ownership and making a choice, because everything we do and everything we are is about choice. So you can choose to stay where you are in your fearful place, or you can choose to move forward. I know that sounds a bit scary probably, but it is true. It's your choice. And no surprises from me that one of the antidotes to all of this is gratitude. As you know, I'm a huge gratitude fan, but we know with 60,000 thoughts a day and 50,000 of those thoughts the same as yesterday, what would it be like to have more positive thoughts that would help take us forward? Gratitude really can, over time, help us to start seeing more opportunities in life and more positive things, because that's what we become attuned to. And even if you just spent 5 minutes a day, even perhaps while you were cleaning your teeth morning or night, thinking about the positive things that have happened to you, then over time you will build that up, and within 28 days it becomes a habit. And if you do it alongside another task that you're doing, like perhaps walking the dog, cleaning your teeth, whatever, then it helps you bolt on that habit to something you're already doing. So again, you're more likely to continue doing it. So there we go. They're my top tips for getting rid of being a tragedy master and actually allowing yourself to say, hang on a minute, what is really going on here? And it's learning to stop yourself and ask that. So you may need to have a think about, how are you going to anchor this message? How are you going to, when you're in that high state of, oh my God, there's just so much going on, how will you remember to ask yourselves those questions? So you might need to have a think about that, whether, you know, when you're in that high state of fear, anxiety, stress, is there a particular song that you could play that would give you time to just really check in with what's going on? Or perhaps there's a particular lyric that you might want to say to yourself. Or perhaps there's a physical structure. Maybe, I've got a picture in this room, but maybe you could associate a picture on the wall that you have in a room, so that when you look at that picture, it's an opportunity for you to check in with what's going on. Or you can probably hear, I always have a bracelet on, and again, for me, that is a physical structure for me in terms of what do I need to remember when I look at it. So there's my top tips. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these, and I'd love to hear your thoughts if you give them a go. So please, if you're watching this on the playback, feel free to get involved and interact, and I will come back later and check in on the comments as well. So remember, we don't have time to be tragedy masters anymore. It's time to get back to the present. It's time to ask yourself what's really going on versus the stories that you're telling yourselves. And really, is it really worth spending more time suffering in your imagination, or would it be better to get back into the present and enjoy every waking moment? So thank you so much for watching. Any comments, give me a shout, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Take care.